Hi, and welcome to the MVAC Lab. I'm Kathy Stevenson, MVAC's Operations Manager. Recently, we've shared two videos in honor of MVAC's 40th anniversary. One was with Jim Gallagher, who began MVAC and the archaeology program here at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. The second was with Tim McAndrews about MVAC and the undergraduate program today. Today we'll be talking with Professor Emeritus Jim Theler, who played a big part in building both MVAC and the archaeology program. Thanks for coming, Jim.
Sure.
So you were really in on MVAC and UWL's archaeology program in the early days.
Yes.
What was it that first brought you here?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get a phone call from Jim Gallagher, and I think you were involved with that. Uh, we were in graduate school together, and you knew I was in Iowa working at the Office of the State Archaeologist for about a year. I was anxious to come back and work on the Mississippi River again. And I got offered a one-semester academic staff appointment, and Jim Gallagher was going on sabbatical, and he needed a seat warmer and somebody to do courses. And Kathy needed someone to do fauna because she was working on her fauna from Valley View site, the important site that began MVAC's presence in this region.
So, from your perspective, what were things like when you first came to La Crosse?
It was an experience. Material that was excavated during the summer was still cleaned in classrooms during the summer and cataloged there. It wasn't very long after I arrived that we got the bottom of the daycare center, which is the building we're currently in, which is the old power plant for the university, and really changed things quite rapidly in the mid 1980s and later. We had a place to work, and it was good. Contract work was important to support the archaeology center, but so was public involvement. We did a number of Earthwatch programs, bringing the public in the summer. Did field schools for both students and for adults, temporary short-term field programs. Later, we would do National Endowment for Humanities projects, and it was very much a thing of getting the public involved in archaeology in the La Crosse area. La Crosse's terrace is covered with archaeological sites. MVAC was perfectly poised to take advantage of one, saving portions of those sites, excavating portions of those sites, and bringing public involvement in. And Jim Gallagher is really good at schmoozing people and getting them to help and cooperate. He had business people like Warren Loveland and others who came in and helped, and the public in general enjoyed it. So it was a nice period of time. We didn't have an archaeology major at the time. We didn't have an anthropology major. Those would come later. We would go, Jim Gallagher and I went a number of times over to administrators and would petition, so to speak, verbally petition for a major, and first in anthropology, and they said, no, you can't have that because other campuses have that. And so eventually it became an archaeology major, and we were eventually granted that in the early, about 1990, to develop a major in archaeological studies. And the first graduates were 92 or 93 from that program, 2 people.
So that one semester that you came here for really turned into quite a lot more than that, because you were here full time from 1985 till you retired in 2010.
That's correct.
So you really saw the archaeology program develop. You were really a part of that. What was that like?
It was an amazing experience. We had students that were very interested in archaeology. They wanted to be in the field. They wanted to learn about the past. And once we had the archaeological studies major, we accumulated quite a number of students. We've had hundreds of students go through the program since it began in the early 1990s. I think our first graduates were 93. But after that, students accumulated, We had good coursework for them. We all taught, we had myself and Jim Gallagher taught courses in archaeology. We had two anthropologists that taught anthropology courses. We had enough for a nice beginning of the archaeological studies program. And the students were wonderful because they were required to do a field school. And when they did a field school early, they could often then be employed in the summer doing archaeological field work. And they were also required to do a senior project, and they often did that on some of the field work they did in the summer. And it was wonderful because they had tremendous experience of field work, often multiple years. They had tremendous, excellent experience doing analysis under professional archaeologists right here at MVAC often. And they would bring that to bear for their senior project in most cases, and especially in the first 10 years or so. And when they would apply to graduate school, we would have graduate schools call us and ask if we had students to send, because the students we sent were so good. They knew more than their graduate students did, because they entered graduate school more than their master's students. So they've been in the field, they've done analysis. It was very rewarding in that way. It was very important to have the program evaluated. It was necessary to have the program evaluated. And Jim managed to get world famous archaeologists to come and evaluate the program. The second person that came in and evaluated this was Louis Benford, a fantastic, interesting guy. He evaluated students, he looked at our reports, he looked at our program, he reviewed our courses, and in the end, he wrote a report, and part of that report said, hands down, it's the best undergraduate archaeology program in the country, hands down. So it was a wonderful opportunity to be involved with that. I spent a lot of time in the classroom and a lot of time working with students at MVAC, and field projects every summer. Made it a wonderful experience for faculty as well as for students. I think it was a remarkable time.
Now, you mentioned that in the beginning, when you were invited to come here, one of the areas of involvement was faunal analysis, because some of your areas of specialty have always been environmental archaeology and analyzing animal remains. And in fact, we're sitting here in your work area with collections that you really developed over the years. And you worked with students a lot. That was always a really strong emphasis on faunal analysis and also just that environmental orientation with archaeology.
Yes. Yeah, it was great. Many decades, 2 decades working with students on animal remains. Taught a class called Environmental Archaeology, where I had the privilege really of presenting all kinds of environmental data relevant to archaeology to students. Students enjoyed it. Students love hands-on work and material. And we had a large number of students go through and specialize in faunal remains and do senior projects on faunal remains. Animal bones are recovered from our local archaeological sites, and we can identify them to what kind of animal, sometimes the age of the animal. We can also identify freshwater mussels, which are an invertebrate, but are certainly animal remains that occur in large numbers. And students have really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed working with students on these specialty areas. We have other people here who specialize in plant remains, botanical remains, and that's one of the great things about MVAC. We have a whole series of specialists who could work on ceramics, pottery, work on lithic materials, work with flora, fauna, and historic areas also.
So you've been involved with MVAC and everything that MVAC has done for a very long time. Yes. What is your take on the organization and the concept?
The concept is wonderful. MVAC's a tremendous organization, and I think MVAC has been held together by a group of people who often went to graduate school together. Connie Arziga, Ernie Bozart, you and I, all Madison grads. And we came here and knew each other, worked in the field together, did analysis together, and it makes for a very cohesive group. And you add with that our students who graduated from here, a number of them work for MVAC now as senior people, and it's nice. It's like a well organized, integrated family, extended family. But we know each other. People know their specialties, their likes and dislikes, knows when to leave people alone and when to say hi and when to step in and help out. But it's a very nice organization that's really held together by being really comrades in the pursuit of ancient peoples in this region.
We hope you've enjoyed this conversation with Jim. He's done videos for MVAC on bone tools and bison scapula hose, and we're looking at doing more videos with him in the future. Until then, please come to MVAC's website. The link is in the video description. You'll find information on archaeology and links to other YouTube videos, including Jim's, our monthly e-news, Facebook, and other social media. You can also donate online to support MVAC's work, including our videos. Thank you for watching.